keeping in mind, we do keep these to 3 minutes. And because there's no agenda item, the council is prohibited from being able to respond. So we allow you to speak, sir.
Good evening, council members, mayor. My name is Josh Cooper. I'm here on behalf of the Villages of West Point neighborhood. Our neighbors are having some issues right now with the developer of Waterstone Development. Moved into my home right during Hurricane Beryl. First found West Point, fell in love with the city of Dayton, reminded me of the small town we just relocated from. When looking for a home, found a home. That way I could become a resident. So, to say the least, we're now getting ticketed or fine violations by the developer on public streets for parking vehicles the proper way. I understand the need for deed restrictions. I do not challenge the reasons for such. Nobody wants junked out vehicles sitting everywhere. However, I would never purchase my home if I'd have known this. My vehicle that I park in the street is a company vehicle for energy transfer. I'm on call to respond to emergencies like the one we've had today in LaPorte on the pipeline that I work for. I will be giving the ladies all the information for the council to review. The last letter we've received from this developer himself has a lot of discrimination against future homebuyers and the people that he sees fit. And he's also informed us that any home that's being purchased inside this neighborhood should not have no more than 3 adults in it. If people are to have more than 2 adults and 2 teenagers driving, they need to be parking all their vehicles in a small driveway that is impossible to fit. He's made it very clear that in the letter he sent, basically stating the fact that it's contractual law and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm the end all be all, and it will not change until it's turned over to the homeowners association. So all of our fines have been random. Everything that's been filed with the Liberty County, nothing's been true. So for instance, he told me I had to remove my work vehicle from front of my residence for 7 days, and I wasn't allowed to bring that vehicle back in. Others have been cited violations for parking in the street. They move it into their driveway. They then block the sidewalk. They then turn around and give them a violation for blocking a public sidewalk. So we're kind of in a rock and a hard space. Whenever I asked the Dayton police officer that was patrolling our neighborhood, he said, you can absolutely park on a public street as long as you're facing the correct direction. You're not within 15 foot of a crosswalk. Can't block a fire hydrant, none of which applies to where my truck is parked. We have several complaints from other neighbors of illegal drone flying over their property to issue violations. So it's not just confined just to me. It's just about everybody.
Sir, I apologize. We're over the 3.
Okay. So, but I will leave everything with them to review, and then hopefully,
thank you.
Yeah,
Okay. Moving into presentation, updates and reports. Our city manager update.
Yes. First, I'd like to recognize a couple of employees of the department. First is James Perkins. He participated in a 10-month program through the University of North Carolina School of Government to get his certification in Government Chief Information Officer. And also Jones Public Library. We have received accreditation, and Sherry going to come up and talk about that briefly.
Okay. Okay. Our library. Okay. Accredited libraries are eligible to take part in the statewide interlibrary loan that we have in the state of Texas. When we're accredited for our programming, for our updated materials, for our internet access for the communities. We're rated on that. We are able to go out and apply for different grants. We get text share database programs and free summer library program materials, among other things that we get for being a grant. So, is there any other questions?
Ms. Sykes, I applaud you and your team. I think that y'all have done a wonderful job, and I think it's wonderful that we are now accredited. And James, congratulations on your achievement as well.
Just so council information, staff will begin pipe bursting on Houston Street from South Winfrey to Colbert, starting next week. So you would see.
This is behind Berkshire Brothers.
That is correct. So you would see Public Works Department out there. They are coordinating with the school, but this is what we have to do in order for us to start paving. Also, we're taking in bids, going out to solicit bids for Waring Street, for us to go out and repave Waring Street, since the pipe bursting already is being completed on that street. I do have an update presentation that I'd like to give you in regards to the CDBG mid-improvement program that we have been doing through GLO. So if I could get our engineer up front to present to the council. My grant administrator as well.
Good evening. I'm Eric Engelskirchen with Friesen Nichols. I'm the engineer for this project. Thanks for having us tonight to give you this update. So this is for the General Land Office Community Development Block Grant Mitigation Fund sewer improvements. That's a whole lot of letters that Alex will give you a little bit more information on. I'm just an engineer, so. I wanted to give y'all a little bit of a funding program overview. Alex will give that as the grant administrator. Then hop into a project overview, project status, and talk about path forward. So,
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alex Sievers. I work with GrantWorks. We do grant administration on CDBG grants like this one. So I'm going to give a quick presentation, just sort of an overhaul or overview of what the grant lifecycle looks like. A quick update on this particular funding and budget, very high level. I promise I won't put you to sleep. And then a quick overview of the next step in the process, which is the environmental review. So here you have the grant process in all of its glory. Let me see if I have a clicker point here. I do. Cool. So we have already completed several of these phases. You have procured me, and of course you've procured Friesen Nichols. You have submitted an application. You've been awarded one. And then we have also completed the civil rights process. This goes on through the rest of the process. I'm not going to read over everything. We're going to go over some more steps right now. So the grant was executed, as a reminder, on the 1st of March this year. The current grant end date is May 31st, 2026. I have an asterisk there because that's the floor, not necessarily the ceiling. If we need to go beyond that, there are avenues for this if certain things get derailed, which isn't uncommon, but hopefully doesn't happen. Like I said before, the startup process is complete. This meant that we required several documents for you all from Friesen Nichols and GrantWorks, submitted all of that, which allows us to commence billing. The billing has begun for the administrative and engineering services, and so we're coming down to the next step, which is the environmental review. If you're looking at the graphic with the large, I don't blind anybody with the laser, sorry. The large green circle is kind of showing you exactly where we are, and then the patterns before and after are that. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So Just a quick note, there is no acquisition required for this project. Acquisition would be, acquisition occurs whenever the proposed construction activity is not located on a locality owned land or within a public right of way or easement. I have an asterisk there because there are no plans for acquisition right now. We're always keeping an eye on that to make sure we're staying within compliance for the grant. The grant award amount was $1,453,600. The required city match is $0. I have an asterisk there in case you are not obligated to contribute any more money as per your application or the contract. If certain things pop up during the project that you want to add on at any point, it is possible to add those in. So I just want to let you know there is flexibility there, but no commitment. The awarded contracts thus far are with GrantWorks, which is my company, the administrative services, and Friesen Nichols, which is doing the engineering work. The contracts to be awarded is still the construction contractor or contractors if that's kind of necessary. So I want to talk about the environmental process because this takes a long time and it doesn't always feel like something's moving forward. So I wanted to sort of break it down so you can understand what's going on there. Per federal regulation, no CDBG funds, which is the kind of grant this is, no CDBG funds may be spent on grant activities without environmental clearance. This is excluding administrative and engineering services. The environmental review begins once the design is substantially complete. GLO, the General Land Office, requires at least 30%. The environmental team at GrantWorks feels that 30% isn't enough to accurately portray the project, so in order to prevent future delays, we wait till closer from 60 to 90%. The more complete it is, the better we can do a job. As I mentioned, the environmental process is completed by GrantWorks' team of environmental scientists. They will come in, they will photograph the area, they will send out agency letters to relative agencies that are going to look over some things, and then ultimately compile the report that will be approved at the local and federal level. The whole process takes between 120 and 210 days, and those are shockingly large numbers for what seems like a pretty straightforward process. Usually it's very straightforward. There are a lot of public comment periods, both local and larger, which have mandatory time limits, up to 30, sometimes 60 days, and it does take a while to hear back from folks. So 120 days is the floor. It's a pretty hard floor. 210 days is what I call a soft ceiling. It doesn't usually go past that. It can, and I will keep you informed if it's looking like it's going that direction. But the bottom line here is that we kind of won't know how long this will take until it is relatively complete. It's a kind of painful thing to be like, wow, we have all this money, I want to go bid, I want to get this project going. But ultimately, we have to do this in order for it to be in compliance, so we don't commit what's called a choice limiting action, which would mean that those costs would be disallowed, the city would owe money back, and there would be problems on the grant. It would jeopardize future funding. So I promise all of this is very necessary, while it's not the most fun part of the job. So that's the end of my slides. Do we have any questions from, I don't know exactly how procedure goes here, but any questions from you all or the folks here?
How many days are we into on the complete process right now?
Ooh, I wish I had.
Since
So
March,
since March 1st was when we executed the contract, but we have not begun the environmental process yet because I have not been given the thumbs up from the engineer yet.
And I'll cover the full project schedule myself.
Cool. Great. Anytime you have any questions, you can channel them through Mendy, who I've been working with, and happy to come back anytime you need a presentation update. Cool. I'm going to get this back there.
Thank you.
All right. So funding, now into the actual what the project is. So this project is inspecting sanitary sewer for 3 different neighborhoods. You can see them on the screen. Honeycutt, Hind, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and then Suburban Acres. And so we're just inspecting the sanitary sewer in those areas, trying to find any inflow, infiltration defects that could be introducing stormwater into your sanitary sewer system and therefore making you treat more water to a more stringent criteria than is necessary. And then based on what we find, performing a design, and then getting into the actual construction where we're going to repair and replace. So we had the project kicked off in May, and then field inspection, where they were doing CCTV of the sanitary sewer manholes, pipes in these neighborhoods, went on in June and July. Then in August, we did data processing and review of that data to find those defects and find those specific areas that we'd be looking at. And right now, we are developing our 90% design to move forward with then environmental review. So here's just a couple of the examples that we found. So these are definitely some pipe INI defects that would cause water, stormwater to be getting into your sanitary sewer. There's some that are more severe than others, but the large joint offset is definitely an issue, and then tap break-in, the infill gusher at a failed joint. So just a couple of examples that we've identified from that CCTV. And then here we have some manhole defects, wall cracking and a leaking pipe connection, an offset pipe connection with an eroded bench. You can see the aggregate of the manhole there, and then a failing pipe connection with infill stains. So just a few of the items that we anticipated we would find, and that's why we're doing this project, and that's why we got money to do this project. So this is what we're going to perform for the manholes. We'll do a grout injection, replacing the cover if necessary, and then do some type of lining or coating. And so that'll get these manholes repaired and protect them from stormwater coming into them and getting into your sanitary system.
Does this have anything to do with the manhole relines that were put in the budget?
That's different.
Okay.
It's totally different.
Yes. So, as I mentioned, during September, we're doing 90% design, getting it to that level where it's comfortable for us all to go into the regulatory review process, that environmental review that Alex was talking about, and that the scope is defined well enough that there's not going to be any issues later with the GLO coming back and saying, hey, this doesn't meet the standards of the grant and cause problems for the city. So that'll take 3 months, 120 days, 210 days, somewhere in that range, based on the environmental review process, and then TCQ also. And then in 2025, we will finalize the design, sign, seal it, advertise, and then go out to bid, and then hopefully start construction in that April time frame, and then complete the project in October. So construction there, it's 6 months. That's what we're anticipating. So, and just to give you a little bit of what that will look like, the majority of the work we're trying to do is going to not impact the residents as much as possible, but there will be some streets that end up needing closures or detours. There'll be some pavement that will need to be replaced. There'll be some bypass pumping. So this is kind of what you'll see during construction when we're repairing and replacing some of those lines. And with that, we'll take any other questions.
Is there more of this in the city that we need to be looking at going into the future?
Yes, it is more. We concentrate on the area in which we thought we would be able to get funding for, and it's areas that had low to moderate income areas. So this is one of the areas. We have a couple of areas within town, and this happens to be one area in town that would qualify for the grant funding. One reason I asked him to present tonight is that we met, they was giving me detailed status of where we were at, where we are going in the timeline. And I want council to hear for themselves, because it's been raised on how long projects take, and I wanted council to hear from Grant Works and also from our engineer, the process and why it takes so long on the majority of our project, because we do have a process that we have to follow. And I appreciate you guys coming out tonight and doing this for us.
Absolutely.
So that's being conducted via grant money,
That
right?
is correct.
And if there's other areas, or all of those areas, or some of those areas potentially, can be grants as well, or we just don't know yet?
It's a possibility. We have to go out and apply when more funding is available, in which we are already communicating with our grant administrator now for additional funding. We got word that there's more funds out there.
So Kim, with that said, are you orchestrating or putting together a comprehensive plan that will kind of map that out of what you think that looks like?
Right. So what we're doing, and it always depends on what type of funding are available. So since we know the government had additional funds, was not allocated, we're gonna go after it, but we don't have a specific plan. One of the things that we are gonna do is I have Chris already been instructed to update our comprehensive plan, that we'll have a section that detail our infrastructure. After we attended the TML Region 16 meeting, we learned there are grant funds that help and assist us with an update our comprehensive plan. So I'll forward that information over to Chris for him to see. And speaking of our meeting that we had for our region, our TML Region 16, I want to congratulate Ms. Barton for being nominated for Vice President of Region 16. Congratulations.
You're not nominated and got, right? You
Yes.
are that person.
She's elected.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm talking about.
That'll be all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kimberly. Finance reports, our monthly finance report for August 2024.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This report represents a general review of financial operations through August 2024. This is the 11th month of the fiscal year 23-24. This budget is at 92% complete for the fiscal year. For the general fund, we have total revenues are at $10,333,764, or 97% of budget, which is 1.7% less than last year to date due to reduced transfers from the water sewer fund and a sale of surplus. Total expenditures are $9,621,115, or 75% of budget, which is 16.3% more than last year to date. However, expenditures are trending 17% lower than budgeted numbers for the fiscal year. We have our revenues are over expenditures by $712,649, which are slowly increasing as more revenue is being collected for the fiscal year. Staff is keeping an eye on the revenues and expenditures. For the water and sewer fund, total revenues are at $6,955,015, or 98% of budget, which is 2.9% more than last year to date due to the collection in interest and billing collections. Total expenses are at $6,122,697, or 89% of budget, which is 14.3% more than last year to date, and that's due to the debt payments that the water sewer fund is now picking up. Revenues are over expenses by $832,318 due to revenues collections reflecting higher and department expenses are lower. For solid waste fund, total revenues are $751,153, or 92% of budget, which is trending within budget. Total expenses are $529,004, or 76% of budget, which is trending 11.5% less than year to date. Revenues are over expenses by $222,149 due to department savings on contracted services. For the fiber fund, Total revenues are at $230,027, which is 78.8% more than last year to date due to the increase of interest in several new Daynet signups. Total expenses are $581,241, or 41% of budget, which is significantly more than last year due to fiber installations, contracted services, and personnel expenses. Revenues are under expenses by $351,214. Once again, due to the fiber expenses that are occurring to continue to service the city of Dayton residents.
Leslie, I had a question on that. On our expenses for the fiber fund, these expenses are coming out of the bond money for that,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay. And on the check register, I noticed several duplications that were canceling each other out.
Yes, and I did get with my staff because I saw that too, but it was due to, so a vendor wanted to, initially they wanted to do an EFT payment, and then they came back and said, we want the check. So whenever they had to go back and void the whole batch, but I have already instructed them that they will not be doing that in the future just to accommodate one vendor. They had to go and void all the packet, and I was like, we don't do that. So yes, I did see that.
Okay, that was a little confusing.
Yes, it was confusing for me too, trust me. I was like, what is this? And I questioned it, and they were like, yes, we're sorry. I'm like, we don't do that. They're gonna have to be there to use EFT, and then later on they're like, oh, we're in town, we wanna pick up the check. We're not doing that. So.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ms. Leslie. Departmental reports. I think we're okay. Is that right, Ms. Judge?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
I have one question
Yes.
for the chief. I noticed on the animal control reports, it looked like there was significant increase in activity. My question is, how did the pet adoption event go on Saturday?
It didn't go very well.
Well, I did adopt 2 cats.
Then let's get a round of applause for Ms. Campbell.
For adopting cats.
It went well. We got 2 cats adopted.
Thank you.
I applaud your efforts, Chief, on that. Thank you.
No credit for that.
Moving into mayor, council, and staff comments.
I do. Several events that we have coming up that I would like to bring the public's attention to. The first one being tomorrow here at the community center, we have a job fair going on that starts at 9 a.m., I believe, and is going to go until 1 p.m. This week and next week, if you haven't been out into the main area, we have an art exhibition from local artists, and it's going on for the next couple of weeks from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and the public is invited to go out and browse and see the work of our local artists. Saturday, September 21st at 11 a.m., Kennebec Volunteer Fire Department is hosting a fish fry fundraiser, $15 a plate. Saturday, September 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., we have the Harvest Market at the Crossroads. Tuesday, October 1st is National Night Out, and we're going to be having an event here at the community center, and the public is invited to attend. It's going to begin at 6 p.m. And Thursday, October 3rd is opening day for the First Methodist Church Pumpkin Patch.
I've got one more. Saturday, October the 5th is the Liberty County Prayer March. Russell, what time does that start?
Starts at noon.
Starts at noon, and they'll meet at the Pavilion in Liberty.
Beer fight and a pavilion in Liberty.
Perfect.
I got a comment. One of our citizens spoke earlier about that neighborhood, about a particular neighborhood or any other neighborhoods. Y'all know I'm adamant about that offset. I've spoken about it many times in the council, even in other forums. I know, but I'm just saying.
No. Yeah.
We are aware of it, and we're going to work on it.
Can't go into any detail on that.
So I got a call in concerns to the speed and the four-way stop sign down on Colbert Street.
We had it on the.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Got it up on the wrong page.
All right, any other
One
comments?
more. Well, shout out to John over there. We had our senior Olympics over the weekend.
You do it.
Oh, yay! Friday and Saturday. And John did donate. Thank you. We appreciate it. We had a really good time. Lots of seniors came out. I had an obstacle course and then bowling.
Very difficult.
I know, I'm sorry, Kimberly. I'll try better next time. We had almost 30 participants for the first Senior Olympics. It was done by Grace Initiative, who also does our Meals on Wheels program. So it was amazing, lots of donations, and that's the only way we can do stuff like that is with community help. So we really appreciate that. It was a really great time. Everybody got an award. It was fun.
All right, any other comments? All right, moving into our consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions on the consent agenda, or can we get a motion?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. It shows in my system that you abstained,
Okay.
so on the minutes, it doesn't show that you voted at all, and that's why.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I get a motion on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda passes. Item 8A, public hearing on 2024-2025 fiscal year budget.
Mayor, I would just say, if I would go ahead and do the budget presentation during this item, that way y'all can talk about it into the hearing. So if the hearing needed to be recessed, it could be. But once the hearing is closed, you have to vote on it no matter what. I would just have that discussion now.
Okay, so I sent, council's request on Wednesday evening. I did the no adjustment, the 1%, 2, and 3%. I added the building inspector position. I added the part-time community center. I reduced, the travel and training and education and training to fiscal year 23-24. We added the dump truck and the manhole relines. I think that's all that council asked for that meeting.
Would you like to go over what that,
Yes.
the 1%, 2%, and 3% employee increases?
Okay. So you have this form in front of you, and I broke it down with no adjustment, the 1%, the 2%, the 3%, and then PD states that the 3% for the 1, 2, and 3 because they actually aren't a pay scale. Is that correct? Pay step. Yes, and so we would have to go back and readjust that. At one point, council approved for it to be adopted at 3%. So I left it at that. But for the no adjustment, we're looking at the operating expenditures at the 9.1. And then operating expenditures at 11 million. Then there's a deficit of 1.8 million. And again, we do the transfers of the 2.2, making revenues over expenditures by 393,045. Our ending fund balance at almost 7.7 million. We're still meeting our reserve of 5.5, and then the overage of 2.1, almost 2.2. And then if we want to do the 1% increase in PD, 3%, you're looking at operating revenues at the same, and then operating expenditures at 11.1, a deficit of 1.9. we have the transfers, that makes our revenues over expenditures by 278,300, ending fund balance at 7.5, almost 7.6. And then we have the 6-month reserve of 5.5, and then the overage of 2 million. Then we have the 2% increase with the PD at 3%. The only thing that is really changes is the expenditure, so the 11.1, the deficit is 2 million. We do the transfers, and then that makes our revenues over expenditures by 244,705. Again, fund balance at 7.5, and then we're meeting our reserve of 5.5, and then our over by 1.9. Whenever we go to the 3% increase, that's PD also at 3%. So we have operating revenues at the same, and then we have operating expenditures at 11, almost 11.2, with a deficit of 2 million. We do the transfers, revenues over expenditures, 211,113, ending fund balance is 7.5. We're still meeting our reserve, and then the over to 1.9. And this is all with the no new revenue rate.
I know several council called Leslie and asked her to do various different scenarios, but she did not have the time, and that's one reason we asked council to make a decision at our last meeting, so that I wouldn't have individual council member calling her for other requests. Because doing the budget, but she still have to do our financial reports as well.
So does anybody have any questions regarding what she's presented?
I don't have any questions, but I still would like to have seen the step increase for the different pay scale. And my question to Brandon would be, do we have to vote on one of these options as they are presented?
No, we don't.
No, ma'am. So the key is, first thing, if you close the public hearing tonight, then when we get to the budget item later, you gotta vote on the budget item, right? You have to take action on it. You guys can, staff is presenting y'all with the budget, you can at that time vote to say, we want to approve the budget with the amendment that it be blank. And then if that motion passes, then that's what would pass, and then she would come back and present that to you guys at the next meeting, but it would already be approved.
Thank you.
So do we leave the hearing open and move to the next item?
It would be, I mean, the question is, do you guys feel comfortable voting on this tonight, or are y'all wanting to have another meeting to talk about this next week one time? I mean, that's the question, truthfully.
And if we're going to, what I ask council again to do is everybody come to consensus of what you would like staff to bring to you. And that's the problem we have, because I can't have one council member calling me saying, or calling staff saying, do this. Remember, it takes 2 councilors and the mayor. That's why I'm asking that you tonight make a decision, because that we had last council meeting. So it's important that we come to a decision as far as what you would like to see.
It is open, y'all can discuss. You basically say if you don't want them to have a raise, or if you want a certain group to have a raise, or you want something, we can discuss it now, or we can have our own ideas and come back at another meeting another day.
Right.
You need to say something tonight.
The one thing to note is we do have to adopt the budget before September is over, and we have to adopt the tax rate before September is over. So,
Can we break those apart?
I would.
I mean, you have to adopt the budget first, and so I would have those two back to back on the next agenda that you
Okay,
talk
so we
about.
couldn't do.
You can't do the tax rate without the budget. That's right. You have to adopt the budget first.
Okay.
So if the consensus is you want to come back next week and
Come on,
meet,
speak.
I mean, I just want direction from council because I'm just keep going back and forth. Like I just feel like I don't have no direction. Yes, Tanya, you did ask for something, but not everybody else asked for it. And now I'm in the middle. I'm doing this. I'm doing all these things for y'all. Then I have financials. I can be working on my audit. Like there's a lot of things that I can be working on, and I would just like for council to give me some direction. If you want no adjustment, just let me know. If you want one, just let me know. 2, 3, whatever it is. I just need direction.
So I personally would like to resolve this tonight because we have been over it. We talked about it in the last meeting. She's done the work. What does it cost? What does it cost? What does it cost in the city for the extra time that she's taken away from doing her regular job? Although we have to do
I say
this
this
budget.
is her regular job.
This is a regular job, but she's not being able to fulfill her other duties because we beat this budget up. And I think we pretty much know what we want. We either don't want a raise, we don't want to give a raise, or the percentages are here. We asked them to do a 1, 2, 3 scenario. We have it. So I'm kind of like trying to figure out what are we doing here.
At this point, right, if we want to not carry this over, somebody needs to make a motion on something.
just not on this item, because this is the hearing.
Right, so if, for instance, if I said, all right, I want all the employees to have a raise except for, say, admin or salary employees. That would be the amendment you're asking for?
Right.
That would be
Yeah,
the
I
same.
mean, I just need direction. What do you want me to
If I said I wanted a 1% raise for this group of salary, a 2% for this group of salary, that's what she's asking for. If we had that discussion, right, because it is open to it, talk freely. Let's get it over with, or we have another meeting and you can put it all on paper and then we'll have another meeting and then we still have to discuss it at that time.
Well, what I had requested was a breakdown of what it would be for us to have a 3% increase for the employees making $0 to $50,000 a year, a 2% increase for those making from $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and a 1% increase for employees making over $100,000 a year.
She didn't have time to do it. She had 3 staff people
So
working on it.
what are y'all's thoughts on that?
I think it's worth seeing, just to be able to see those final numbers.
This is my thing.
I don't think it's gonna change the bottom line, but we just gotta do it. Say, for instance, my thought is salary or exempt employees would be no raise. It would be kind of leaning kind of what you said, if it was a certain deal, but even in, the employees deserve a raise, they do. The ones down there doing the work deserve a raise, there's no doubt about it. Some of the upper deal, I can see foregoing this year's raise in order to give the lower people doing, out on the street doing the work, doing everything, give them more money. I don't want to do away with that, and that's kind of where I lean to.
So, again, back to Brandon. We're in a hearing right now. So if we recess the hearing, then we can't vote on the action items, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right, so my question then to council is, do we feel that you are equipped enough with enough information that we can close the hearing and make a decision tonight? If not, we're gonna have to reconvene probably on Thursday.
I'd just like to hear from you two. I think I know where
Yeah, we
she's
can't
at.
reconvene
Just
on
hear-
Thursday. We have
y'all
to
three
send it to
here.
us.
It'd have to be next week, Mayor, because of the 72-hour notice.
No, that's the proposal that I'm putting out there, and I just need to get some feedback on it.
I lean more towards, giving, I totally agree with the people who are actually doing the work, because they do it up under all conditions, living conditions. And I think I stated that very clearly, they do deserve a raise. So, for as the higher positions that, let's say that's making 100,000, oh, I'm sorry, I forget. For those positions that are 100,000 above, I think that, they should stay and just forego a raise this year. However, we have, in my mind, I heard conversation just recently where another local city was basically proposing, one of our staff positions if they were interested. So we have to understand that, we have to value our staff, right? As well as those who work and make things happen in the city. I would not like to see one of our staff leave and go to a local city because they offer them 4% more than, or whatever that percentage is, right? Because then we have to spend money to start replacing those staff personnel. So I think that at a certain threshold, we should say either 0, increase of a percentage on their raise, or, meet halfway in the middle. To be fair.
I'm with, John. I think that we, over 100,000, nothing, those that are non-salary should get the 3%.
Now, I would point out there are some salaried that are below 100.
Yes.
So just to make sure you know that.
Yeah, I'm aware.
So are you saying those that are not a salary that's under 100, they do not, or they do get an increase?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I just want to be fair.
Tanya, you're looking, so let me think what I say what I think I heard. Anybody over 100, no increase. Those under 100 get a 3%. That's what I heard.
So if we
And
get,
if the staff, I'm sorry, John, the staff that is under 100, they get the 3, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought I heard.
and then it could fall back on what you're talking about. If you're over 50, you get this much.
I said 0 to 50 gets the 3%, and from 50 to 100 gets 2%.
Okay.
And then nobody over the salary or
Over 100,000.
Instead of the 1%.
I'm good with that too.
Sarah, what are your thoughts? You've been quiet.
I only know what citizens have told me, and I've voiced exactly what they have told me. I don't disagree with the logic, but we were elected to do what they want us to do, and this is what they are telling me. So that's kind of that's a little internal battle that I'm fighting. Nobody wants to mess with anybody's pay. I get it, it's not popular. I am not making any friends by saying it. But they put me here, and I feel obligated to speak what they want me to speak. I'm not opposed to the lower end getting the increases. I think that's fair. Now that's not touching police department, right?
No.
Does that, I'm sorry, just for clarification.
I got a question on that too.
Are you saying no increase, or what are you saying exactly? Because I didn't.
I'm outnumbered, so I'm not sure that
No,
at this point, but what people are telling me is they don't want to see any pay increases until we get our road situation under control. And they expect to see all the extra money that we have being put to infrastructure, roads, sewer, water, that type of thing. So that is the message that I am conveying.
So,
because I'm not sure that my personal opinion matters a whole lot up here.
So I want to be clear on something to make sure we're all on the same page. We are not talking about messing with the PD STEP program, correct?
Step program, but
That's what I meant.
who's in the step? Is it just the officers, or does it go all the way up?
It's all the way down to
everybody.
That's where I have.
If you're gonna do that, like what you're talking about, Captain Hedrick, that would be myself, Captain Burley, and Lieutenant Ibarra are the 3 that are salary positions. So everybody else it wouldn't affect, but it would affect our 3.
Well, you say that, Chief, only if you make the designation as salary. If you
Correct.
make the dollar amount is the designation, then unless you say
Then
this
it would
doesn't
just be
apply to
changed.
PD.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Because obviously the 50, 100, that's where the bulk of PD would be. And that's at 2% based on what y'all are talking about right here, which is lower than the step of 3%, right, Chief?
Correct.
And so I would just say whenever y'all get ready to do whatever motion you're going to do, you would clarify whether or not that PD is included in that 2% or if they're excluded. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Cousins.
Okay.
You understand that?
Because I was under the impression that we weren't gonna mess with the PD step at all.
Well, because the upper end is different when their salaries are up, when you're talking about.
So okay, so you're going with the salary number.
If we went with the patrolman all the way up to the, up minus the lieutenant above, that would basically be in that pay scale. But if you went with the 50,000 and above, then it would affect all of them in that pay scale, right? 3% versus 2%.
Yeah, I mean, the 3% is the 3% total for our whole department is 80,000. And that's from me down. So if you exclude the salaried or however you want to call it,
right,
which would be me, Shane, and Lieutenant Ibarra, it would actually only affect if you did 100 and up, just Shane.
So from my understanding, it was not gonna affect the PD step program, right? That's what I understood. We was gonna leave the step program as it is and decide on
the
the
intent for that would be the officers.
They're part of the step program, correct?
Yeah.
So
The whole
I
PD is part of the
I
step program.
understood that we were gonna not mess with the step program, because I don't want to, slack our PD at all from the top to the bottom, because they protect our city. But I understood, what I was visioning is like a 2% if it's 50 to 100. No. Yeah, 100 and then 100 up, 0, right?
And 0 to 53.
3%,
That's
yes.
right. That's
I mean, like,
exactly
let's make it simple.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what I understood. So if I'm misunderstanding, please correct me.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
And the only thing to clarify is, whenever the time comes, because the bulk of that PD is in that 2% section, that 50 to 100, and so y'all will just need to designate, do you want the PD to be included in that or not?
We were excluding the PD. That's what I just said. We're not gonna affect it. We're not gonna mess with the PD 3% step. Right? 0 to 50, 3%, 50 to 100, 2%, 100 and up, nothing this year.
But the 50 to 100 would
Oh,
be.
okay, so we're veering way off track here. So,
Can I say something quickly here?
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of employees that's over 100.
Only 4.
Let me tell you what you're getting confused.
Only 4.
What you're getting confused in the sheet that John had is the fact that you added people benefits to their salary, they're making them over 100. So you're only affecting 4 employees with that number. And I think that's where the confusion is coming in at. They think you got a whole lot of city staff making over 100,000 and you do not. You're looking at benefits included in the salary, so you'll be aware. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So when you say 100,000, it's 4 people who you would not give a raise to. And I know you said the ones that's out there working, but we all work. Some of us may not be in the field, but we have to use our education, our training, in order to buy the services and to get the people out there to do the job. I just want to bring that to your attention.
So, again, thank you, Ms. Judge. One of the things that I thought was discussed at the last meeting was that we were going to not touch the PD step program and extrapolate that completely off as its own thing, because that was something that was already previously agreed to. And the only thing that even the 3%, 2%, 1% would even affect is any non-PD employees. Is that correct?
That's what I understood.
So the PD as a whole will be carved off in the motion, saying that this will be excluded and allowed to run their step program. And then the rest of what we are talking about, which is what, $85,000 or something like that, is what we're talking about is trying to fix that. So, I'm gonna say something that's not popular with some. And I would say that with that understanding, that I would be okay with just a standard 3% across the board. It's $85,000 in a budget that is $11 billion. So we can squabble over it or whatever we're going to do. I think that at this point, I really like that 1.9 number down there, and I really like that 1.9 number for roads and infrastructure, Ms. Vickery, and for sewer and water. I like that. She's looking at me like that because I know it's not popular with her, and that's okay.
I like the 1.9 to the roads. I
Yeah.
think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I would like to see a lower tax rate.
I understand.
So let me ask this question. So if we lose 3 staff, if we decide whatever, if we decide no new, when we left there last week, I was under understanding what you said. We weren't gonna miss the PD staff program with 3% across the board. That's what I understood when we left last meeting. However, I know it's been a lot of going back and forth and people trying to make a decision. However, people are our best assets. That's my mindset. And so I look at what will it cost us if we lose 3 staff tomorrow to bring in 3 new staff to replace them. What does that cost look like? Would that be under the $85,000 savings, or would it be over? Would it cost us more?
It's $182,000.
Yeah, that's what, I'm not
What
sure.
maybe?
Sally, to answer your question,
Thank you.
you're gonna be paying more money, just to put it to you that simple. I can't tell you how much, but depending on the qualification of the individuals that you're looking for, it's gonna cost you.
I'll tell you, and I've heard this a couple times, about the most precious asset. And I'm personally in complete conflict with that statement, as the employees are the most precious asset. I don't think that's correct. I think the people of this city are the most precious asset. And it's those people that we ought to be looking out for their best interests. With that being said, I am not discounting the employees of the city of Dayton. I think they are very worth it. But I argue the point of what's the most precious. I am a taxpayer in this town, and I pay some pretty good taxes on an annual basis. And I do not appreciate being thought of as not an asset to this town. I think it's without my checkbook that this town does not exist. Me and many others that pay taxes. So I think we need to realign ourselves with what is right. And what's right is the public, the people of this township. We as public servants are here to serve and serve well, even at our own financial peril, if we choose this type of work. And I say that because I served in the military for almost 30 years, and I was on WIC when my children were born. And I was on active duty, but I continued to serve. And it wasn't about me, as it should be with city employees. It is not about the city employees. It is about this township.
Well said.
Mr. Barnes, I agree with you 100%, and thank you for your service. And I don't want what I said taken out of context, because I didn't say they were the most precious. I said they were one of our assets to keep the city running. Of course, the taxpayers are, in this situation, the best. We have to look out what's best for the taxpayers. So if the savings, if three staff members leave tomorrow, my ask was, what does that look like from a financial perspective? Is it going to cost us more than we would decide if we were gonna vote on 2%, 3%, or $0 increase in their salary? What does that number look like? Is it gonna be more or less based on the numbers that we were presented, or 3% across the board? That's what I mean when I say that. So I want you to, I wanna be very clear on my statement.
No, fair enough. And I know that's what you meant, but what I'm trying to do is put the voice of reason in the room. And the truth of it is that we ought to look out for everybody's interest. But if you just put it in pecking order, which we always do, then it's always gonna be to the benefit of the citizens of this township. Let's talk about people leaving. People are gonna leave anyway. You can pay them all the money in the world and somebody else is gonna come with more money. And people that got really good skills are gonna follow the money. We ought not get tied up with that. People work where they want to work. That's their right as a citizen in this country. And people come and they go. And we're gonna have to bear that burden. That's just all it is to it.
Leslie, I have a quick question for you. Pulling the PD's increase out, how much money are we talking about? Left. No, that's not what I'm asking. No, that's not what I'm asking. The total amount of the increase, if we remove the PD from that, what is left that we're talking about in the discrepancy between
Salaries.
Yeah, for all the other salaries? Isn't it around 85,000?
85 is PD, I believe.
Around like,
It's 175
for PD is 80,635, and for, general fund is 98,582.
So 98,000, okay. Okay.
The reason why I had proposed doing this step increase was because I am looking at, on our number one biggest budget item is employee salaries. That is what we spend the most money on, and trying to be conservative as far as spending this money that is public funds. I'm trying to be responsible with it. That's why I suggested the step increase.
I think maybe we spend more money on debt.
look, let me say something. I know everybody have a difference of opinions. I think for staff right now, I think if we're getting beat up, and I'll be honest, I have to speak for staff. Most of us are citizens of Dayton as well. To keep that in mind. It's just that I think at this moment, we want to see a decision made. We want council to come together. We'd like to see our council and our staff come together so that we can support our community. And keep in mind, I say this again, a lot of your staff is citizens as well of Dayton. We're no strangers here.
Taxpaying citizens?
Yes, sir, we are. That is correct. So keep that in mind as well, and let's just try to come together so we can get an approved budget, so that we can move forward and continue to provide for our community. Our greatest asset is the community, and it's including our citizens and employees.
I would like to point out that some of us are getting beat up too. It ain't fun. It's not fun. We feel it too.
Yes.
And it's not personal. It's tough being in the middle. It's not a fun place to be.
So I'll pose this question again. Do we feel like we have enough information to make a motion and have a general consensus tonight, or do we need to recess this hearing to have another meeting?
For me, I understand. I don't have enough information, but others may not. I thought we agreed on fusion.
It'd be done.
It's simple, yeah. I mean, like,
Just make it zero and be done with it. Leave PD at whole.
I thought.
That was the agreement or understanding. Let me see that.
Well, we have-
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Tax
make a
rate.
non-popular, and I'm gonna go ahead and close this hearing. I think we're ready to make a decision. Somebody's gonna make a motion. So it is 7:06 PM and I hereby close this public hearing on 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. And move to item B, public hearing on the fiscal year 2024 proposed property tax rate of 0.659. I'm not going to read the rest. Per 100 of taxable value for tax year 2024 to receive public comment on this rate.
And just a reminder, this is the rate that was the voter approval rate.
That's not.
And that was which was why we have to set it as that's why the motion, why the hearing says the number that it does. Now, this was the proposed tax rate the tax rate that was proposed at one of the last meetings, whatever meeting it was that y'all voted on the proposed tax rate. But just to point out, the tax rate that you guys were discussing in the budget is that no new revenue of 0.6485863, correct, Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, we knew that this was the ceiling, but we were talking about the other below that.
I just wanted to explain why that's a different number.
Is there any comment, public or council otherwise, on the tax rate? Are we good on that?
I would like to add something that Lois and I had the opportunity to speak to our financial advisor. Ms. Bigby, we talked to her as well, and we just advised not to drop the tax rate too low because then we would mess with our credit score, which would eventually, probably in the next year to affect our credit rating and our actually revenues coming in. He did advise of that.
How would the credit score affect revenue?
Because the more you go in and you put your taxes, it affects what you can borrow. It's no different than what example
We
did you
collect
give us?
less revenue, we lower taxes, we collect less revenue.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
But
how
our
it-
credit score, how does
Well,
lower the
the-
tax rate?
The reason why is because whenever we're getting in less revenue, we're having to transfer more money from the water sewer fund, so we're having an unbalanced budget.
The balanced budget will continue to increase and you're taking more funds from the water and sewer.
Yes.
So then what we end up having to do is increase again the water and sewer rates to make up for it.
Or we cut spending somewhere else. I would still like to see the numbers at a 0.62, flat 0.62. If anybody else wants it, fantastic. If I'm the only one, that's good too. I'm fine with that.
But Leslie, you told us at the last meeting when we were discussing this, that the no new revenue rate, we still met all of our expenditures
Yes,
at the no new revenue
yes.
rate.
I
So
will
we
not
would not
lower
be,
it.
so we would not be transferring more money from the
No.
water sewer fund or anything.
No. If we lower to the 62 cents from the no new revenue from the no new revenue to the 62 cents, you're talking about $386,000. That's, and then
More than what we would have.
yes, and then if we would have gone with the, proposed to the 62 cents, that's like 500, I think it was like 567,000 or something like that, that we would lower it. So I don't wanna keep lowering it because then we'll be transferring more water sewer funds into the general fund. And eventually, it's gonna be either you're gonna raise the tax rates or you're gonna raise the water sewer rates. What do you want?
Just a sidebar question. Water sewer fund, when we transfer the 2.2 million out of there, what are we leaving in the water sewer fund?
22,000.
22,000. Okay.
I believe that if we increase the water sewer rate, that's passed on to the taxpayers.
Yes. I
And
mean,
they're already complaining about
the
their
same.
water sewer bill now, so will we be doing a justice to our taxpayers if we increase their amount that they have to pay into the water sewer? Because the people that I'm speaking with in the community, they do not want to pay more money for water and sewer.
The water and sewer rate increase it back to what we were doing, it would be more than what they're paying in taxes. Increase.
One thing I want to point out is if you go below the no new revenue rate, just so everyone knows, obviously what you're doing is you're bringing in less money. Where that impacts you in the future is now next year's no new revenue rate is to bring in that same less money as you brought in this year. And so you just again, for full transparency, so everyone can think about that. And so that's one thing to think about.
But with the population increase, that would still bring in more money, right? At the no new revenue rate, taking into account whatever you get from people on the rolls this year, use that rate next year, but with more people,
So
wouldn't it still bring in additional money
the
for this year?
no new revenue rate is not calculated, like new growth is not built into that.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is there, and it's, then you get taxed on the new growth, right?
Yes.
So there's still some additional money.
Yes.
So like with the no new revenue rate this year, it's still actually a little bit more than what we got last year, even though no new revenue you would think that it's not, but it is. It's actually a little bit more.
Because of the new value.
Because of the new
Yes.
Yeah.
So even if we did the no new revenue again next year, with all the new growth, the extra homes, the rooftops, the extra people, it's still more revenue.
But we hope
But that's a number that we don't know that exists. It could happen or it could not happen. So if it does not happen, then that means that we have to pass that increase on to the taxpayers. We hope
There's gonna be a lot of
that,
empty houses.
we hope that it increase. That's what our hope is, because Dayton is growing. So, but to me, that's an unpredictable number. It's not something that you can say, yes, it's gonna happen versus what we know right now. If we
it is.
stay at the no new tax rate, we can kind of predict what that looks like, right?
And let me tell you this, and it's great, and we see the development, we see it coming, but we don't know how many people are moving from the core to the newer subdivisions. If you look at us, I'm gonna use Beaumont, something I know very well. If you look and you see what happened in the older areas in Beaumont, those houses are left empty and dilapidated, and a lot of them were torn down, and people moved into the newer homes in the newer area. So it's very hard to sit there and say, well, we're gonna have X amount of new homes, new values, and this is what, we're gonna bring in. We won't know until it occurs. So we holding on to hope and prayer.
And quite a few of them is in the ETJ, aren't they?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
Aren't they being annexed?
No.
Yeah,
Some
unless
of
they
them are,
ask to be
yes.
annexed.
So that they requested to be annexed.
They have to ask.
They have to ask.
They don't act.
Is it in the contract?
No.
Yeah, well,
No.
the ones that we have deals with, yes, they would have to be annexed. The ones that we contract and say they're gonna be annexed.
For those
Yes.
that we have. And right now, how many do we have that said they want to be annexed? One.
A couple. Well, there's one that's, two that are done, right? The Villages of West Point was one that was done. And then D.R. Horton is one that was done.
One additional. One additional, right? Yeah, one. We'll get one.
So does nobody else wanna see it at 0.62? Don't have to approve.
I'm not with the 6.2. I'm good with the no new rate, not the
Have y'all done your own home
0.65.
with that rate? Have you worked out the numbers?
I have. I'm already paying 4 times whatever on average.
We are too, and that's what it's with a successful protest, we're still paying a whole lot.
But everyone lives in a different price. Like Eric, you have your home, we know what kind of home we look at. But for some of our taxpayers, they're not that fortunate, or from a financial perspective, that have a home that may be valued at the same value as Ms. Vickery in your home. So with that in mind, we have to really take that in consideration of others, because again, this is what we chose to do, to serve our people, to serve the people of Dayton, the taxpayers.
That's why
So we have to pay a little bit more, taxes, but we don't want to cause them more money in their water and sewer bill, because you have a lot of senior citizens who will be affected by this increase. You have a lot of people on fixed income that will be affected by that if we increase the water sewer. So I want to be very mindful of that. I know we have to make a decision, it's tough, but what's best for the taxpayers?
All right, anybody else have any other questions regarding the tax rate? Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak from a citizen standpoint? Yes, sir.
Come on up, Don.
Yes, sir. I can say, I would like to say, thank you for the opportunity. But as concerned citizen, it's like, we're putting more, emphasis on the people that's coming in and not enough, loyalty to the people that's been here, that's been supporting the city for years and years and years.
Sir, can I have you step forward a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Talking to Mike.
And what was your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Don Deagle Senior.
Okay.
And I'm saying that we putting a lot of emphasis on the incoming people and not enough loyalty support to the people that's been here paying taxes for years and years and years. And I've warned myself that seeing my property tax go up like the boy said 4 times, and it's been nothing changed on it. I still don't have city gas, stuff like that. I still don't have some of the city facilities that the regular city people have at my property. But yet and still, I got a few cows running on it, and that's the environment that I grew up in. And I'm trying to hold on to that, but it's like everything around me is people and houses being built, and it caused my property taxes to go up and continue to go up, and there's no ceiling on these property taxes. But it's unaffordable for us as citizens that been here forever and a day. So, me for one, I would not like to see an increase in property taxes. And I say that for the neighborhood of Lowwood for sure. And my aunt back here, she's covered up. We're doing everything that we can do to help her. You know, to just be able to live in her home and just maintain the property that her dad worked so hard for. But with the property taxes continue to go up and up and up, it's almost unaffordable for us to even have the property that was left to us paying these high city taxes. Property tax. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. Any other questions regarding the tax rate in this area?
No, I think that the citizens and taxpayers don't want a new tax rate. And I know they for sure don't want to pay more in water and sewer if we do lower the tax rate. So we kind of, we do and we don't.
Lowering it.
But the no new rate, no new revenue rate. So that's predicated, as I'm looking at the document last week, at the 0.6485863, right? We're okay if we went to that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's still going to be an increase, and it's a sizable increase. On the taxes.
We don't
control what the county appraisal district.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with us.
The appraisal is set. What matters is the tax rate.
We're going down.
Yes, we are, but that's only half the story. We all know that. This particular rate, this no new revenue rate, Mayor, I think yours is still gonna increase by, I don't know, $120. Tanya's, I think yours is going up too. John's, I think yours is going up. Mine is not going up as much because I won my protest, so yay. But it's still, it's the wrong direction. So if we're hearing citizens say they don't want to pay more, and not that they don't want to, they can't afford it. Going to a lower rate, if it's an extra 300,000, we still have that 1.9 million.
So wait, what did you say?
She said your taxes are gonna be more.
No. What was the last thing you said about the 1.9?
The 1.9 million, the over,
Uh-huh.
1.9 million at the bottom of this sheet.
Uh-huh.
If we're looking at an additional, or 300,000 less income, or was it 500? It would be 300 on top of the 211 that's already in there.
Right, it would be
Okay, so
1.6
that would just drop down the 1.907.
to 1.6.
But we already transferring from water sewer into general fund to make it balance. And I'm gonna show you something. If we weren't to transfer, look how deficit we are. Like, we're not even meeting our reserve. Look at this.
The 5.598.
Sorry, it's only the, sorry.
Leslie! That's okay. It's all right. It bounced, didn't it?
Yes. Let me get another one.
We can share. We can
Okay.
share. You good.
So that just gives you a perspective of if we weren't to transfer, let's say the water sewer. You're not speaking loud enough. Let's say that we didn't have enough funds to transfer from the water sewer fund. Look what it's doing. It's negative $2 million. It's digging into your ending fund balance, and your reserve, you're not even meeting your reserve because the ending fund balance is 5.2, your reserve should be 5.6, and so now you're short 342,161.
But this is not transferring water.
Yeah, this is not transferring water and sewer funds.
Okay, so how can we transfer them in our regular budget, but not transfer them in a different tax rate?
Because this is the no new revenue rate. Look what it's doing to it. And this is why I recommended the proposed tax rate of the DAR, so we can get more revenue, so we can transfer less money. But since we are wanting to go with the no new revenue, then we're transferring that 2.2. So then that makes the general fund have a surplus. So the general fund is not making enough money to support itself. We have to transfer from water sewer fund.
Sure.
Right, I think the discrepancy here is if we stay at the no new revenue rate, right? If everything is what you propose, we'll have 1.9.
Yes.
Okay, if we drop what Ms. Vickery is asking for, we reduce the 1.9 to 1.6.
But how do you know you're going to transfer 2.2? Because that's me projecting transferring 2.2. That doesn't mean that October 1st come and I'm going to transfer the $2 million right away. Right. No, I have to wait for the water sewer to get the revenue so I can transfer. Guess what? In January, when I'm paying the debt service payments for the water sewer, that transfer doesn't get done because I'm not going to let water sewer go negative just because general fund doesn't have the money. Right. So this is what we need to keep in mind. You're trying to do something short term, well, it's going to affect us long term.
I'm just trying to do what the citizens are
asking.
I
understand, sir, but
if we have to cut spending somewhere, I think we should do that.
I also have to look out for the city. So,
absolutely.
So what do you recommend we cut spending? I think you passed.
So I think we can't actually talk about that right now because we're on the tax rate in this budget.
But Leslie, the numbers do add up at the.
Yeah, with the transfer.
With the transfer.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say, we transfer, but if we keep cutting more into our revenues, we're gonna have to make up more and.
We're good. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, then at 7:26, we have 20 minutes. That's right the number I wanted. So 20 minutes, we are gonna hereby close this public hearing on the proposed tax rate. And due to request, we're actually going to change the action item order. And we're going to jump down to action item 9J. We'll come back to the others in just a minute. But we're going to do 9J, K, and L first. So, and I think that's Ms. Perkins, not Billy's.
Yes. Okay, so, go ahead. Do you want to read the item or jump into it? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Consider possible action on resolution number R 2024-77, approving the use of PEG funds to purchase Livecast.
Okay, so we started live streaming our meetings. We basically found a camera in the closet and we've been doing this makeshift. Well, we actually have PEG funds that can only be used for stuff like live streaming council. That's what we purchased these microphones with previously. So our software vendor for our website and agenda software reached out to me. They do have something called Livecast, which will basically what it does is it will attach the video to the to our agendas online. It indexes it, so instead of having to watch or try to scroll through the whole video, you can click on an agenda item and it takes you to that part of the video. So I'll give you an example here. This is Buda. They use it. Unfortunately, you can't, with this view, you can't really see it, but you can scroll, find a different item. It goes directly to that
Approve the operational policy for the City of Buda Citizens Gathering.
And it links everything to our minutes and our agenda.
It's going to be me.
So we can use the PEG funds to pay the one-time fee of $7,658.50. We will also have to buy a camera or 2 cameras depending on, I guess, if y'all want, just 1 view or 2. And I say that because some cities have like one over here that would point at the, So now what it wouldn't cover, PEG funds, it's a capital item, so it wouldn't cover the reoccurring fees. So that means next year I would have to make sure IT added the $4,720.38. That's the annual cost for this software. But the PEG funds would cover to get us going and the cameras if y'all wanted to do
For
that.
those of us that don't know what are PEG funds, where do they come from?
Sorry, it's public education and governmental funds. So this is what is collected from, sorry, let me find my spot here. Well, that's what we can use it for, but.
From cable television.
Oh, yes, from cable, paid by cable operators to support local government, so.
Part of the franchise fee.
Yeah, and we get around 15 to 16,000 yearly that go into that special fund that are only set aside for those type of expenditures. We cannot use it on anything else. We can just use it on like video production, streaming equipment, computer technology, TV monitoring technology, but it has to do like
it has to do with
council settings.
And I will say that I do want to ask them before I proceed if they can maybe quote me for like a 5-year price. That way we can pay for everything maybe upfront for 5 years. And then that way we don't have to worry about paying that annual fee for 5 more years, since that's the way it's worded that we have to use
Are you
it.
saying we don't have enough money in there to continue the annual fees?
No, we do, but we can't use it for that. It's capital
expenditure, so
yes.
only one-time expenditure.
Yeah, it's not operational.
Yeah, it's not operational.
So I just wanted to tell y'all that in advance.
So if we got the 5-year price, we could pay that as a capital expense upfront.
That's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna see if they'll give me that.
And then, again, just to be clear, this is not coming out of general fund.
No, this is a separate fund. There's 165,000 in there.
Okay.
And also, if you're gonna do a 5-year plan, ask for a cost savings in that.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, because we use them, like I said, also for our website and our agenda software.
So we don't need to vote on this tonight.
We just need to table it.
Yeah, just table this.
For
and
her to be able to get
that
the
information
to us.
And then we can make a decision.
Yes, yeah, y'all can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion that we table item 9J for Jennifer to be able to get the additional information on the 5-year plan.
Second.
I have a motion to table with a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All All opposed? Item 9J, table. Quick question, how long do you think it'll take you to get that information?
Oh, no, he'd probably be able to get that to me tomorrow.
Oh, okay, so we can come back and do it again at next session?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, item 9K, consider with possible action on resolution number R 2024-78, approving the purchases of IT failover infrastructure hardware.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is a culmination and request basically presented by the council to the IT group. So what this will do is give us that, it has nothing to do with what you're seeing on the screen.
Sorry.
So what this does is this gives us the capability to keep this police department up and running and independent to within reason of the city hall. If you guys, a quick history, if you recall, we had an incident where the police department was essentially severed from City Hall, and we had a time period of internet outages, if you all recall that, back in July. So this is what is going to resolve that. I presented back in August, I believe, 2 different steps or 2 different stages or phases. Phase 1 I've already completed to where we do have a failover. This particular request is to implement phase 2. Phase 2 is a complete overhaul of our top end of our network, both at City Hall as well as the police department. What this allows us to do is to fail over from, and let me back up. First of all, before I get going, I'll come back to that. So what this does is this allows us to create, and I'm going to speak a little bit of tech terms, so I do apologize, but we're going to have an SD-WAN implementation both at the City Hall as well as the police department. What this does is it basically binds 2 different internet feeds into one. And so if one fails, the other is already there and it's already active. So we have kind of an active kind of situation. We're also adding we're replacing our primary security appliance at both locations with 2 security appliances, which gives us a highly available environment. What that means is I have a primary that's always running and a secondary that's always running. They're constantly communicating. So if we have a device failure, nobody knows any different on the end user. This is for the city. Let me make that very clear. This is for the city infrastructure and not the DayNet infrastructure. So please keep that in mind. The configuration essentially is going to be the same between the police department and the City Hall. So we'll have 2 highly available locations, cross-talking to each other, multiple feeds of internet access that eliminates the outages that we've had rarely in the past.
So you're on at the police department and the City Hall, you're gonna replace with SD-WAN?
That's correct. Both locations, that's correct.
This is coming out of what funds?
That's a good question. Probably, she left, but I'm sure general fund would be my guess.
And this is the $64,269.
It is, yes, ma'am. So the $64,000 is for the hardware itself. So just another kind of a tech spot. Currently, we're using Meraki as our security appliance. We're also using Meraki as our physical network infrastructure. We're removing these Meraki security appliances and replacing with FortiGate.
40?
Yeah,
okay.
On both sides. Now, on top of that, because we are replacing Meraki, each satellite location, Public Works, wastewater treatment plant here at the community center, we're also replacing those devices as well.
Is the plan to ultimately get rid of Meraki?
That's to be determined. That would be a later phase, of course. We still have 2 more years at least on licensing, so that won't come into play probably until next year for planning.
And these FortiGate appliances, they're not subscription based, correct?
They're not, but I will, if we do have any more in-depth conversations, the group that I've chosen is CompuGen. They actually had the lowest bid of the three that I did reach out to. You should have that information in your packet. But it is not subscription based. Now that is the big difference between Meraki and FortiGate. Meraki actually had an extremely high subscription base for the SD-WAN part of it. And that's why we pretty much eliminated them. Not to mention just the growth potential, the security potential. We can do much more with the FortiGate than we can for Meraki.
So this will be a cost savings down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, the cost savings year 2, 3, 4, and 5, there is absolutely no comparison.
One of the things that I like about this solution, with the Meraki, you're kind of hamstrung. With Meraki, if you decide not to renew your subscription with them because you just want to run the appliance with no COL or whatever, the appliance shuts off. Cisco shuts the appliance off if you don't renew the subscription. With FortiGate, if we get into a situation where we don't want to renew the subscription for whatever the service piece of it is, we can still continue to use the appliances and not worry about them shutting them off.
Basically, they will not become a brick.
Right.
But we're paying for both. If we approve this, we'd be paying for both.
No, sir. No, we're replacing completely the Meraki equipment, the security appliance portion of Meraki equipment, with the new FortiGate. So that piece is going away. We're bringing in new.
So you said you made mention that there was a subscription that
no,
we had.
that's with Meraki. That's going away.
Yeah, that's good. We currently pay a.
Okay.
We're going to use that.
Okay.
Yeah, we currently pay a subscription base now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm good.
They call it licensing, subscription, and tomato.
So James, what is the installation cost? We have
So the installation cost actually is not to exceed $37,456. I also pulled quotes, and again, the group that I have with me, Martin and Cameron, are currently in the audience. They did have a better price. So what we're looking at, we'll do the math real fast. It's $101,725.34. That's what we're asking.
Say that again.
$101,725.34.
Does that come out of this year's past budget / year?
This
right
was
now?
not a budgeted item, so please keep that in mind. This was based on a request.
When are you doing it? Did they approve it? When would you do it?
As quickly as possible. I think we need to act on, if we are going to go this direction, we need to act fairly soon.
So this year, this fiscal year?
No, there's no way this current fiscal, it would have to happen, for sure in October.
Will you be purchasing equipment?
Yes, ma'am.
So equipment seems like be coming out this year, and the installation will be next budget.
Okay, so then we would have to do a budget amendment.
Exactly.
So that would be something that I would.
There should have been some bond money that could help cover this, huh? Some type of bond money, passport,
We use the bond.
the IT stuff.
No, I mean, even though IT is infrastructure, all the finances, everything that we do, what we're doing right now is laying upon this IT infrastructure. We typically don't get the bond.
The 40 analyzer, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm assuming that's going to be monitoring, correct?
James, I think John was talking about the bond money that we used to do, like the camera.
Oh, like the CP stuff?
Yeah, all that,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, my bad. I thought you meant
Yeah.
going out for a
No,
while.
Yeah, but
no.
you can already spend that
My
money
mistake.
on that.
Because then we had some left over, 18 bond or 19 or something, I thought.
We already adjusted and used those funds. We didn't have any more left.
Used it all.
Yes,
I
sir.
remember us using the remainder of those. Yes, yes.
So
Is
is
this
there
so
a
your
way that
question
we
aware
can?
of this? Were you not aware of this on the amount? Trying to figure out
No, yeah, I think,
$100,000.
no, I was aware of what they're wanting to do, but I told them that it would have to come to council and y'all would have to decide, and it would be a budget amendment because it's not in the budget. So that means when I bring it to you in November to do the budget amendments for this fiscal year, not be a surprise to y'all when it's in there.
So we're already,
Yeah,
Just to
so
go
you-
back,
this is
we're
what-
already eating into the 1.9 that we had.
Not
Well,
the material costs, you would not, if we do a budget amendment and take it out of this year's savings, right?
Yeah, I have to go back.
Well, that's kind of what I was asking, coming out of this,
Yeah.
you did a budget amendment, there's an employee salary or something that wasn't used or something.
Right, that is correct, John. We have to look
Yeah,
at
we
what
would
we
have
have
to look to
over.
see how much we have, like, savings overall budget and general fund. But I still have to bring it to you as a budget amendment and let you all know that, hey, we purchased this is not in the budget.
Right.
It's just legality that I have to do that.
So would that be on the next council meeting, the budget amendment?
No, do we do it?
Yeah, we do. I mean, if he's gonna do it, not if, well, yeah, if they're gonna purchase it out of this fiscal year, yes.
The 64,
Yes.
the material cost.
What are we shooting for, this year's or next?
Yes, this year, the material
64.
cost, the 64, the material cost, because he's gonna go ahead and purchase it. The labor won't come into October.
Until after, until the
Yes.
That's where you said the 64 was.
Considering that it is gonna be a cost savings overall, long-term, I think this is something that we need to do. And so with that, I'm going to move that we approve resolution number R 2024-78, approving the purchases of the IT failover infrastructure software.
I'm sorry, is that the one, I apologize, is that the one that needs the amendment, Jennifer, because I didn't have that amendment?
Yeah,
The
we.
Are you
resolution.
talking about the total amount?
Yeah.
To include the implementation piece?
Yes,
We did.
I'm just making sure that, because the resolution is written does not include that, right?
They know.
I just want to make sure that that's what our
So
motion
the amount
is.
that I have here is for $101,725.34.
Okay, sorry, just wanted to make sure.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nope.
Item, K passes, and I'm trying to find my papers here. Not too many papers, thank you. Okay, that was item J, by the way. I know, it was K. Item L, consider with possible action on resolution number R 2024-79, approve the purchases of additional networking equipment to increase subscriber coverage.
Mayor, council, you got me again. So what this is for an additional piece of equipment for Daynet. It is specifically to allow us to expand, our capabilities of signing up, subscribing, and activating new customers. We were in a situation currently where one of our neighborhoods has actually exceeded the capability of the equipment that was currently put in. So what this piece of equipment does is this allows us to not only continue to subscribe or service that community, but it's going to allow us to expand beyond what we currently have. Down 1960, parts of 146, and then some of the other surrounding areas that are also underserved.
And Leslie, this would come out of the dedicated bond fund for Daynet.
Yeah, and this
So
is
would not affect
specifically
our budget.
Daynet, that's correct.
This is one of those expenditures that the cost was 31,000. We city manager could approve, but as I stated, transparency, we bring it out to you.
Yeah, so the total is $31,534.30. You should also have the quote in your packet. John, you mean mugging me? What do you got? What's going on, man? John's mean mugging me or something. So now I will say that without this piece of equipment, we will not be able to continue to serve the people that are trying to help pay for this. We will not be able to activate new people. And our whole concept, keeping in mind, is to add more people and expand what we currently have. example given, the Medina project down 1960 with D.L. Horton, we will not be able to serve that community. And I forget the other community that's coming that's right across 1960. We will not be able to serve that community either.
Have we made any progress on expanding out to like the apartment complexes and things that you were looking at?
Negative, not at this moment.
Okay.
No, so I will touch on that real briefly if you don't mind. So we do go past them, and we do have an allocation of fiber specific to them. We just don't have the components yet to penetrate inside. So that's going to require some additional architectural design in order to make that possible.
And where is this gonna be installed in your data center?
So this will actually, it will not. It will be in one of our active cabinets. Specifically, if you notice the white cabinet at Highway 90 and 146.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it will be physically installed.
Okay. So it's not a limitation of your data center, it's a limitation.
Correct.
$31,534.30. But that would come out of the Dayton bond.
Yes. And keep in mind, D.R. Horton is already,
No, it's right here. This is the right number, right?
Should say Calyx.
Calyx, yeah, it's $31,534.
Correct.
But there's also a warranty, yes?
That's included in that number.
It's included in
Yes,
this
ma'am.
first number.
So just to keep it in mind, I think where Kimberly is headed, if you don't mind. So just keep in mind D.O. Horton, the Medina project that I was referring to, they've already committed the infrastructure to go on the ground to support data.
Okay, I move that we approve resolution number R 2024-79, approving the purchase of additional network equipment to increase subscriber coverage in the amount of $31,534.30.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Item passes. And now we can back up. And I did want to say, for those that were interested, the Broncos won 35-6. So we're really happy with those guys. You're welcome, Brandon.
I was on the edge of my seat.
I know you were. Okay, so let's moving back to action item 9A. Consider with possible action on ordinance number O 2024-27, approving the zoning map amendment request for property located Plant Efton 1960, property ID 30305, Dayton, Texas 77535, legally described as 000493R Pruitt-116, tract 51, to make a zone change from rural to agricultural, from rural agricultural to general commercial.
Good evening, council. This particular item is a rezoning request, again, on one of our busy corridors. This area happens to be towards the end of the city limits here. If you're looking at the full city map, you see this dot, it indicates the full extent of it. You see the coloring on the map that shows the extent of our city limits. This is where the subject property is here. So literally one property over from the edge of the city. In this particular area, you have a number of existing commercial developments that were there prior to zoning. Particularly next door, there's a self-storage unit facility. I believe there's another tract of commercial on the west side or the east side of this particular proposal. The applicant is proposing to do one phase of their ballpark expansion on this particular site. This particular 1.5 acres will house a indoor batting cage. It is their long-term plan to take the property to the south here and actually have outdoor ball fields. This particular tract is also underneath an annexation agreement. So at the point that they decide to develop it, it will then come into the city, and thus it will be part of our tax rolls, et cetera, with that development. Planning and Zoning Commission looked over this item, staff made a recommendation for approval, Planning and Zoning Commission agreed, so we're asking you to agree with us and recommend approval for this item.
Where exactly is this property? Does that say 1960?
You want to get all the Christmas lights?
Yeah.
It's about 1,000 yards before that.
Okay. Okay. That's way out there.
Yeah.
Do you know what did you say the plan was for batting cages?
The first phase is for indoor batting cages, and then the second phase, which isn't a part of this subject, but it's to the south, is for outdoor ball courts.
And this
It's
is
the batting cage that was on North Winfrey.
right. This is in city limits, not ETJ, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So it's the same people that had the back?
Yes, right now.
That's exciting.
All right. Can I get a motion on item 9A?
I move that we approve ordinance number O-2024-27, approving the zone map amendment request, changing the tract as presented from rural agriculture to general commercial.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? 9A passes. 9B, consider with possible action on resolution number R 2024-82 regarding a conditional use permit request of an office with a city trailer parking in Business Park District, 12615 Highway 146, Dayton, Texas, legally described as 000383 TNNO-5, track 7-91719.
This particular item is yet another light industrial type project that's going down State Highway 146. Again, if we're gonna look at the locator map here, we're looking at the southern end of the city, along 146. I believe this is the 5th project that we've seen on this particular corridor this year. The proposal here is for a pipeline integrity group to build out a facility that will handle their semi trucks and basically house those trucks and their office space on the site. The applicant does have a site plan that we put on 179 in your packet. You can see the new improvements of that first phase, which is going to be basically the new landscaping along the frontage, the new office building, the customer parking, the office employee parking, and then also the storage of the semi trucks. P&Z looked it over and they agreed with staff. With all the criteria being met, we recommend approval.
So the semi trucks that they're talking about parking here, these are ones that are in regular use. These are not going to be ones that are not running, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. So these are the company's trucks. They are housed there. The employees show up. They then hop in the trucks and then go out to the sites to deliver their services.
So it's an extension of what they currently already have here?
That's correct.
Okay, any other questions? Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve resolution number R 2024-82 regarding conditional use permit request as presented.
I have a motion to approve with a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Item 9B passes. Item 9C, consider with possible action on ordinance number O 2024-24, approving and adopting a budget for the city of Dayton, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025. If there are no questions, can I get a motion? Let's not all rush to the microphone at one time.
Okay, I'm gonna put it out there. I move that we approve ordinance number O-2024-24, approving and adopting the budget for the city of Dayton for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025, with the amendment of the salary for employees making $0 to $50,000, having a 3% increase. For employees making from $50,000 to $100,000, having a 2% increase. Excluding PD, because they are on a separate step program.
I second.
I have a motion to approve with a second.
Can I give clarity real quick on something?
I knew it.
Just because we talked about so much earlier, right? I want to make sure we're all on the same page. You probably know what the question is. The over 100 is 0. Correct. Okay. And the PD from top to bottom stays the same. Like not stays on its 3% step.
Stay on their step.
Stay on their step program.
Okay, sorry. And that's based on the no new revenue rate too, correct?
And based on the no new revenue rate, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Make sure.
I have a motion to approve with a second, as presented by Mr. Brandon. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Me.
9C passes.
And was that 4-1?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and on the tax rate, will y'all please raise your hands because that has to be a record.
Yes.
And when you do the next one, Mr. Mayor, when you call, go ahead and read item 9D, and then I'll tell you why we can skip it. I just wanted to.
Consider with possible action on resolution number R 2024-74, ratifying the property tax increase reflected in the budget.
So obviously, you didn't do a property tax increase because you want the no new revenue rate. We put this on here because we didn't know exactly what you were going to do. And if you did go higher than the NNR, you would have had to have adopted something here. So y'all can just skip this one. No need to table, just skip it.
Okay. All right, so we skip item D. And item E, consider with possible action on ordinance number O 2024-25, adopting an ad valorem tax rate for the fiscal year 24-25, providing for the debt services fund for 24 tax year and providing an effective tax date.
Oh, boy. 06.
So when you make the motion on this one, because obviously you adopted a budget based on the no new revenue rate. So I believe in your packet, it has what that no new revenue rate is and what the M&O is and what the INS is. So I'm going to ask, because we left those all blank in the ordinance, because again, we didn't know what y'all were going to do. But whoever wants to make the motion, if you can name those 3 things.
I need that paper that has that.
Yeah, all we have is this with the tax rate.
Can you tell them what those numbers are?
On the agenda.
Look under the comments on the agenda page.
Most of the pages are cut off. Page.
211, page 211.
Do you have it?
What is it?
Yes, page 211.
This doesn't have page numbers.
Oh, yeah, we don't think it's,
Oh,
yeah.
It's this far in here.
It doesn't have to.
These are blank. These don't have any of that.
It's okay, we carried it for you too.
I just ripped it all up.
That's okay.
Whoever wants it, there's the 3 that are highlighted or underlined. Thank y'all.
Do we need to raise our hand?
Yes, for the vote, after the motion.
Okay. I move that we approve ordinance number O 2024-25, adopting an ad valorem tax rate for fiscal year 2024-25 being 0.645858, which is composed of the M&O rate of 0.33872 and the INS rate of 0.30986.
Which is the no new revenue rate,
Which
correct?
is the no new revenue rate.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with a second. If you could indicate your aye or your nay by raising of your hand. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 1 to 4. Ms. Vickery opposing.
Thank y'all.
Stand your ground, Sarah, stand your ground.
I love you, my friend.
9F. I have no idea what's happening. All right, 9F. I'll get back with you in just a moment. Consider with possible action on ordinance number O-2024-26, an ordinance in the city of council of Dayton, the city of Dayton, Texas, approving the 2024 annual updates to the service assessment plan and assessment role for the West Point Village's Public Improvement District.
And Ms. Barnes with P3 Works is going to present this to you guys.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Andrea Barnes with P3 Works. We serve as the City of Dayton's PID Administrator. And I present the SAP update for tax year 2024 to you tonight as a requirement of the PID Act. So once a year, you as a council are required to receive and review an annual report that does include a 5-year service plan and the assessment goals for any and all improvement areas that have been assessed a tax levy within that particular PID district. So that's what you have before you tonight is that annual report. It's routine. There's not any substantial changes to it. You did approve an amended and restated service and assessment plan in March 18th of this year. And this is an update to that plan that you approved in March, on March 18th of this year. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Does this have anything to do with West Point that was not on the rolls, getting on the rolls?
Yes. So the IA2 levy, it was levied. However, the assessment roll exhibit that's located in the amended and restated plan had a 0 installment due January 31st of 2025. Although all the other pages in the document had the $938,000. The assessment roll is what we submit to the county for billing and collection purposes. So we needed to make sure that that assessment roll exhibit was updated to reflect the $938,000 for improvement area 2. There were no changes to the improvement area 1 assessment roll.
Okay. So this is fixing what was previously missing. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Can I get a motion on item 9F?
I move that we approve ordinance number O-2024-26, an ordinance of the City Council approving the 2024 annual update to the service and assessment plan and assessment roll for West Point Village's PID.
Second.
I have a motion to approve with a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 9F passes. Item 9G, consider with possible action on resolution number R 2024-80 on changing the intersection of Colbert and Young Streets to a 4-way stop.
Mayor and City Council, another item on the agenda, we had one of our citizens, well, actually 2 of them requested 4-way stop, but I have to inform you, in order for council to be able to do so, you must perform a traffic impact analysis. We cannot put a 4-way stop, and I've provided you with the information in your packet that indicates this. What happens when you go to install a 4-way stop, sometimes it may affect us if not the proper study or any other traffic control device when we end up in court. So it's important that we make sure that we have the proper documentation to state that we did accordingly by the Texas Main Unified Traffic Control Device perform the necessary study. If council so be it, then we can do it. I got price anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 per intersection to perform the study.
$5,000 to $10,000?
Yes, that's correct.
What's the time estimate on having that done?
I have no idea yet. I have to go through the various different engineers and see their schedule.
And would that come out of this year's budget or next year's budget?
It can depend on their schedule. We can try for this year's budget, but most likely it'll be next year. I will tell you this, looking at the traffic that's occurring on Young Street, it doesn't appear to be enough traffic on Young for the four-way stop. But we can get an engineer to show you that.
So,
Not enough traffic on Young. It is on Cobra, but not Young. That's why we have to stop where it is located right now.
But the stop is on Young, right?
That is
Yes.
It's
correct.
not on Colburn.
That is
But Colburn
correct.
is where the traffic problem is.
That is correct, but you don't have enough cars trying to get on and cross traffic. That's what I'm telling you.
Gotcha.
How to
Okay.
make your works.
Gotcha.
So that was, Julie, so that was kind of what I, was jumping ahead on earlier. I got several, like, at least 6 phone calls today. And, some of the citizens down in the Lowwoods area basically stated what you said, that putting a stop or four-way stop sign, they don't feel that it would control the traffic, but something needs to be, there during the high traffic area, because even if you put the four-way stop sign, the way the people travel back and forth, north and south, they're gonna run the red light, they're gonna run the stop sign anywhere, because that's the same traffic.
Well, we wouldn't just rely on PD to monitor that.
No. What I'm saying is that, the cost that it's gonna take us, the cost it would take to do this assessment, one, listening to at least 6 phone calls I got today about that, putting a four-way stop sign. They didn't feel like it would control the traffic, the speeding and all that craziness that they have there. I don't live in Lowwoods.
I do.
Mr. Stevens live in Lowwoods, so he would have, he would be more
Let me
informed about.
explain to you some of the traffic problems. Some of the heavy traffic is through peak volume. The peak volume is before schools and after school. That is your peak volume of traffic. Now, you do have other peak volumes around about 5 o'clock or so, especially if you have problems with traffic on Highway 90 and cars begin to detour. So you have certain peak hours where you have the biggest problem. Other than the peak hours during the week, at night, on the weekend, you don't have the same traffic problem. But you have school traffic and you have any incident that may occur on Highway 90 will cause it to be a problem. So you have specific issues there, not necessarily the amount of traffic on Young. It's the issue with school traffic and on, when there's an incident on Highway 90.
Well, considering that it was important enough for a citizen to bring it to our attention and request that we take action on this, I think it warrants at least us doing the engineering study.
Engineering design study.
Yes, the engineering design study on
Chief, have you looked at this?
I mean, I've been over there, yes, sir. I mean, I will say that it's a very narrow street.
Yes.
So a lot of times, if someone's driving the actual posted speed limit, it appears as if they're going faster because the street is narrow. I'm not saying that people don't speed down that street. They speed down every street here. I don't know that this would help having a stop sign in the center of it. If there's not anybody there to monitor a stop sign, they're just gonna run the stop sign.
Speed bumps help?
No.
I'm just asking, I mean, I'm not trying to be outside
The
the box,
posted
like,
speed limit is
do
20
we want to
miles
spend
per
that
hour.
money?
It
The road is not, the road is not really, like you said, it's not really wide enough. I actually drove down there to see it.
So what do we need to do for this? Just table it or just?
Yeah, you can just table it and then Ms. Judge can get
Yeah.
the study done and then bring it back to you guys.
Do we have to vote on getting a study done?
I mean, if you want to vote and get a study done, I mean, it wouldn't be the resolution as written, but you could,
You don't have to.
I mean, but the way we're posted, we can vote on it if y'all wanted to.
I mean, I completely agree with Tanya, because I actually went and visited with Mr. Graves. Yes, I talked to him. Because I wanted to let it, like, no, hey, we listened to you, it's on the agenda. And he did seem very concerned. So.
Yeah, if the consensus, which it appears to be, is let's go forward with doing the study, then we don't need a motion to do that.
How much is a study though?
It's gonna be roughly around 5 or 10. Now, I will tell you, if they say, okay, if they tell us well, we need to do another intersection further down, then it's gonna cost us more. So that's the biggest problem. You can get an engineer to come in and say, okay, we're doing this section. However, we need to do traffic counts for the north, for the south,
So they could say that they can't look at just this one intersection, they
They
have to look at multiple.
yes.
And then it goes up 10,000.
to more.
But they won't do that without approval, right? Like, they'll tell you.
Of course they will, of course.
So it could be, I'm assuming Ms. Judge would obviously, if she talks to them and they say it's gonna be 10 or 15,000 because they ask them to do all this other stuff, she wouldn't take action and would bring it back to you guys.
I could, or I can go ahead and take action, it depends on them.
Yeah,
Like
they
I
are.
said, I can do anything below $50,000, so if they want me to do it, all they have to do is tell me right now not to exceed this amount of money. John, you shake your head, talk to me.
I would say let law enforcement do their job down there.
That's what I say.
$15,000 a lot of money. We were trying to cut budgets,
Yeah.
talking about raises, cut budgets.
It's only at peak
Just
time.
let them do their job, maybe put it down there and then just call a vote and say, deny resolution R 2024-80, change the intersection at Young to four-way stop, denied. I don't know what else you would say. I mean, at this time, not that it couldn't be in the future, but
I'm gonna tell you something, I know y'all like, this won't have done everything, and I have. But that's one of the things I did in Beaumont, it was one of my jobs. Exactly, I did traffic impact analysis studies to determine traffic control devices to see if it worked. Because I had the education experience to do it at the time. And that was my job. I don't see it working, I'm just gonna be honest with you.
So we need to do a resolution to tell Derek to get more people over there to do their job.
Already on schedule. I have a solution already.
So you would just, if the thought is you don't want to go forward with doing it, then you would just make a motion to deny, to reject this resolution. Vote on that.
You gonna go tell them, John?
again, I make a resolution R 2024-80 to, not move forward with the four-way stop at this time.
I have a motion to deny, with a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 3-2. And the resolution is denied. All right, moving forward to 9H, consider the possible action on resolution number R 2024-76, submitting nominations for the Liberty County Appraisal District Director.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Every year, you all and every other government entity in Liberty County will decide whether or not you want to nominate individuals to serve on the Liberty County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Again, these are not the people who set the values. These are the board who is kind of like the city council of the CID. The current board is comprised of Mark Scholander, Mark Herndon, Charles Bowles, Josh Day, Jimmy Rollins, and Richard Brown. There's been some changes this past legislative session to how this works. There are now 3 elected positions that go along with this, and the tax assessor collector is now a voting position, not just an advisory position. And so, but what you guys would be doing tonight, and what the CAD has asked, is for the entities to nominate people to serve as those other 5 spots. And then what would happen is we would come back, they'll take the list of everybody that was nominated, they reach out to those people, see if they actually want to apply, and if they do, they will then send that list back out to all of the taxing entities in Liberty County. Each entity has a certain number of votes that you can cast, and it takes X number of votes to put somebody on the board. And so you would vote at a later meeting to cast your however many votes you have as a city towards whatever candidate. You can divide it up however you want to do. I mean, historically, the city would work with the school district to try to make sure you get at least one, if not more, Dayton residents on that board. And so, again, tonight it would just be to nominate people to serve on there. The people, and I'm sure you all know these folks, but just looking at the list of the 3 people that are on there right now with Dayton addresses are Mark Scholander, Josh Day, and Jimmy Rollins. Obviously, you can nominate anyone else that you would like.
How many nominations do we have?
You can nominate up to 5, because you can nominate 1 per position.
Do we want to take action and have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate, Mr. George Ford, Jr. He's a resident of Dayton, and, he's inquired about, serving in some capacity. He helps with, our food drive sometimes. He's willing to do his part.
Did you say George Ford?
George Ford, Jr.
And Mr. Mayor, if y'all wanted, y'all can take them one at a time if y'all wanted to do that, right? Until you get 5, or if you want to put them all in one group, or if this is the only person you want to do, we can do it that way.
So would we need to indicate if we wanted to stay with existing members, or this is just for how we
Yes,
would?
yes,
Okay.
because everyone is up. So, like for example, if y'all wanted to nominate Mark Scholander, Josh Day, and Jimmy Rollins, I'm just saying them because they have Dayton addresses, and George Ford Jr., you could say, I move to nominate, boom, and say those 4. Then those 4 would be added to the list that would go out to everybody in the county, all the taxing entities in the county.
And they would vote then on those.
That's right. Then everybody in the county would cast their votes for which 5 to put on there of the group. So like Ms. Barton, if you wanted to nominate do them all as one, or if you just wanted, if you're only wanting to nominate this one, then we could get a second and vote on that one, however y'all want to do it.
I would like to add to that list, Mr. Don Beaver Senior, who has also expressed an interest in serving on that board.
And so that gives us a total of 5, correct?
If you go with the other 3.
Yes.
So would the motion be, Ms. Michael, to nominate George Ford Jr., Don Deaver Sr., plus
The 3 existing.
Mark Scholander, Josh Day, and Jimmy Rollins?
Yes, that would be the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
I have a motion to approve with a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 9J is passed as written. Item 9I, consider with possible action on resolution number R 2024-43 regarding a name change of the Dayton Community Center for the Dayton Civic Center.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'll be speaking on this item. Amanda, of course, could not be here this evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I would like to begin by discussing how and why we started talking about changing the name of our community center to a civic center to begin with. A few years ago, Amanda and I had a conversation. We were discussing the differences between a community center and a civic center. She brought up that there seemed to be more funding / grant opportunities for a civic center, but not many for community centers. It wasn't a very long discussion, very brief in fact, and then we really didn't discuss it again until just recently. Fast forward to a few months ago, we were all in a leadership meeting. Kimberly was explaining to us that we had discovered that we could not use hotel motel funds for fireworks at the 4th of July, but there were other uses that those funds could be used for, including a civic center. It was brought up again that we should change the name from community center to civic center and some of the reasons why. I had already researched what the HOP funds could be used for. I had spoken to TML attorneys regarding the HOP funds and how the funds could be used for repairs to the facility, but it would need to be called a civic center, not a community center, as outlined in the HOP fund 2-step process. By changing the name from community center to civic center, we open up a world of opportunity of how we can use the HOP funds for this facility only. We would be able to replace the carpet, which needs to be done as soon as possible. I don't know if any of y'all have seen it in the ballroom. It's starting to look pretty worn and stained. Any other repairs that need to be done to the facility, the money that we just spent to clean the parking lots would have come out of those funds. Additions such as an outdoor theater, updating the gazebo for musical events, etc.,
anything of that nature that would update the facility itself, we could use hot funds for. We can also supplement a portion of Amanda's salary. Several civic centers in our area do that. It could be like a 25% of her salary comes from hot funds, and that is allowed in hot fund two-step process. I was told that there was some confusion regarding the local government code in reference to a civic center and how they are governed, and that we would need to create an authority board and that there would need to be a board of directors, but that's not the case. Because this facility is within the city of Dayton, the council is the authority board and you are the governing board. It would be no different than what we're currently doing right now. Anytime you have an event, you come to council to get approval for that. So also too, I was told that the facility needed to be a certain square footage before it could be called a civic center. Kennefic has a civic center, and I can assure you that building is nowhere near the square footage of this building. I think we fall well within the square footage requirements. Let's see. Now, in conclusion, we're only trying to use hot funds where they would get the most use at a facility that is used by not only the community, but civic organizations as well. The Rotary Club is a civic organization. They meet here every week. The Chamber of Commerce, also a civic organization, has their offices here. It only makes sense to change the name to a civic center and be able to use those funds that we're not currently able to use on much of anything else. Why wouldn't we want to update our facility for our community and our civic organization? So it's my recommendation to the council that we change the name from community center to civic center so that we're able to use the hot funds where we feel fit.
Okay, I have some issues with this, primarily stemming from when this was created, this building was created, and it was done with public input. And to change this, I would not feel comfortable doing that without public input.
Okay.
So I would like to see what the public thinks about this before we proceed to do that.
Would you want us to put it on the next election for a vote? Or
we can do a poll.
I would like to see some type of a meeting where they could come and give public input.
A public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
So did you mention also the grant opportunities if it becomes a civic center versus a community center?
Yes, and I think we were all, those of us that were attendance in the TNL meeting the other evening, where he said that there's even HVAC funds for civic centers.
If we get I attend the meetings, so there was talking about, there's other cities that are taking advantage of the grant program for their civic centers. And they have major events every year.
And just to kind of put it into perspective, so you have convention centers, civic centers, and community centers. We're currently a community center, and I agree that maybe we should ask the public, but I think they're going to agree that we should bump up to the civic center.
Well, like I said, I would like to have that public input on there. And also, we tabled this matter back in June. And since then, I have seen on our social media pages where it's already been changed and referred to as a civic center, and I take exception to that.
It was done way before that time. We did not do it. I didn't, admin didn't. Someone in the community center that worked in the community center has been using that. So it was not us. So you know.
Well, I'm just saying, I take exception to that because we didn't approve that, and I don't think anything should have been changed on job descriptions or anything.
Was it changed on the city site?
It's on their social media.
On the city social media?
That is our community center.
So I would like to, so I would like to address that, Tanya. So when we did bring it up back then, as the HR director, I was being proactive and I did change the job descriptions because I thought it was going to be approved. So that is on me, on the job descriptions, because that's the only place that it was changed, and that is the only change that was made to the job descriptions.
Okay.
Do we lose control of this building?
No.
In terms of
No.
if the state says that, like, if we have to house people here we don't have to house people here during emergencies or?
We just do it, when we have those, when they arise, if we have a natural disaster, most of it's gonna be the National Guards and something like that.
And we've done that in the past.
But it would not be required.
It's not a requirement.
We still own the building. And would have that ability.
Even if we accept grant funds.
Well, unless some of the grants funding has that string attached, which y'all would then have to make that decision if it was worth
But we
the
would know
money.
that before.
But you would know that at that
grant.
grant time, yes.
I look at it as, I've talked to some of the people who originally had the idea of building this building, and some of them that have been on council, and some of them married, and they all ended kind of leaving it as the community center. There's grants out there, they apply for grants and pass it, or whatever, that could be used, so, I don't know.
And that's why I said I would be in favor of having more public input to see what the citizens really want with it.
As far as the poll, I don't believe in it, because if you look at Dayton, those polls are very, very manipulative. You get people that are outside the city limits that are voting for something, and it's not really that what they're supposed to do, so if you're gonna put it on it, and like Tammy's saying, put it on the sidebar for the election and see if people wanna vote, well,
I mean, I would just do it as a like as a workshop or public hearing or something, and we could push it out on social media to invite people. I mean, and frankly, if people are passionate about it, they'll come or they won't. But if you put it on the ballot, just know you're gonna spend some money.
And I think people will voice their opinion, one way or the other. I've had heard it from both sides, so I'm sure that I wouldn't mind coming out and voicing their opinion.
And we need to give the public, the full, the advantages and disadvantages of, staying community versus going civic, and the benefits and some of the, the pros and the cons.
So also too, keep in mind that just because that there's grant funding available, doesn't necessarily mean that we be automatically approved.
Either way. Very good.
Okay, so, are we tabling this, are we denying it, are we accepting it, what are we doing?
I tell you what, I'm gonna do this, I will make a motion for R 2024-43 of our name change, and that stays at Dayton Community Center.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, the name change to stay the same with a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, 9-9, I don't know how to say that. 9-9 passes, or it's denied.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. I had it both
The
ways in my
motion
head.
passes.
Yeah, the motion passes, but this is, yeah. Okay. All right, 9M, consider with possible action on resolution number R 2024-75, approving an interlocal agreement with TxDOT for Highway 90 and Rocky Road intersection improvement.
Mayor and City Council, but again, well, for what we done with Stemford Road and Highway 90, we had to perform a traffic study, get engineering drawings done in order to reconfigure that intersection for the heavy trucks that would be coming through, and for visibility. We're gonna have to do the same thing with Rocky Road. That caused us to enter into an interlocal agreement. That interlocal agreement is saying that the city of Dayton would pay for the design of the work, in which we in turn would make the tourists responsible for the payment. So the city of Dayton.
We would really make CMC responsible, and then CMC would get reimbursed out of the TERS if the money is there. So CMC would pay for it, not it. And then if money comes into the TERS, they would get reimbursed.
And CMC has agreed to do so.
And this is adding a red light, or what do y'all?
Let's look to put a red light at Rocky Road and Highway 90. And for safety concerns there, with the big trucks coming in and out.
Would that be the same kind of built intersection that they have at Stilson Road.
That is correct.
So if you have an inside on the left side coming, going
Well,
out.
the actual design of it, I don't have the design yet,
Okay.
but it'd be similar to it.
Can I get a motion to, can I get a motion for, to approve the local agreement?
With an exception, right?
Well, you could approve it with the understanding that CMC is paying
That's
for
what I
it,
meant.
if you wanted to put that in there.
And I move that we approve resolution number R 2024-75, approving an interlocal agreement with TxDOT for Highway 90 Rocky Road intersection improvement, with the CMC Railroad being part of the agreement.
Yep.
Paying for it.
Paying for it.
Yeah, that they would pay for
And
it.
being reimbursed through the church.
Second.
When do you get
Second, when they get the money. All right, I have a motion to approve with a second, with the stipulations that were stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None passes. It is now 8:32 p.m. and I recess this executive, or the city council executive session.